Osnabrück is a city in Lower Saxony. It's a logistics center with some 155,000 residents. Its economy is good, but the city council is deeply in debt. What citizens are especially angry about is the fact that part of that debt was taken on in Swiss francs. That means more debt because that currency has increased in value.
They need to be more careful with our tax money.
That's our tax money. And the city of Osnabrück does what it wants with that money. It's not their own money. They feel like they can just waste it. And we're fed up with it.
Incurring debt in a foreign currency, the local savings and loan doesn't think there's anything fundamentally wrong with that. There were advantages to it. The bank's spokesman sees the problem in how the risks were managed.
The city of Osnabrück was dealing in francs, among other things, for what were certainly understandable reasons that had to do with interest rates. Back then, you could take on very affordable loans in Swiss francs. But as usual with deals like that, you have to be careful to get out of them at the right time. But that's not our decision. The local governments decide how they want to handle it.
The city treasurer of Osnabrück is now in a tight spot. He inherited the Swiss loans from his predecessor and must now create provisions in the budget.
From the current perspective, it was wrong to take out loans in Swiss francs. But hindsight is always 20/20. Back then, it was done under the conditions that existed at the time. There was a stable relationship between the euro and the Swiss franc. If I had thought that the Swiss National Bank would drop its cap, I would have immediately refinanced those loans and capitalized on the losses. But no one could know that would happen.
So what's going to happen with the now very expensive loans? The first of them comes due in March. At the local newspaper, they don't think the situation is that serious. They say the loans will simply be extended, as they have been for the past 15 years. The number of euros per borrowed franc is only relevant when the loan is repaid.
There is a risk that's dormant in the budget of an estimated 16 million euros. The city has debts of up to 420 million euros. So that's not all that much, but it is a risk. That risk only becomes real if the city suddenly had to pay back all those loans. But it won't, and it won't have to in the foreseeable future. The city cannot reduce its debt in the foreseeable future. And before it's in the situation where it has to do that, we'll probably all be old and retired, and we'll be talking about spaceships flying to Mars.
The expensive franc is causing turmoil for the budget, but not much is likely to change in the daily business of the indebted city, except for its export companies. This Osnabrück-based company, for instance, is profiting from the higher-valued franc without any exchange transactions. Berner Ladenbau makes interior furnishings for bakeries and cafes, and 1 in 5 of its shop counters is exported. The boss hopes for increased sales in Switzerland.
European products are less expensive for them. Everything bought in euros is less expensive. That's an additional 20% discount. The two currencies are now about equal in value, so that gives us an advantage over our Swiss competitors. So we're considering setting up a branch in Switzerland in order to get closer.
Some 500 kilometers separate the Swiss border from the city of Osnabrück, but the results of the franc revaluation are hitting close to home.